Hey guys, welcome to The Bite. My name is Jackie. Today I'm going to share with you how to make my version of wonton soup. This is by no means a traditional way to make wonton soup. This is just how I know it and how I've known it for many years. In fact, my mom and I used to make these, freeze them, and in middle school, this was, like a long time ago, we would, dang, I make myself sound old. We would stick them in the freezer and I would come home from school, and if I was doing like an after school activity or whatever and my mom had to go back to work, she would get this all ready for me, pull them out, and then I would just make some soup and stick them right in. I mean, this is like such a quick and easy thing, especially if you don't know what to make for dinner and you have these in the freezer. It's awesome. So really simple ingredients and very few ingredients as well. So let me show you what you'll need. Here is some ground beef. I have some cabbage that I've just kind of chopped up into kind of large-ish dices, a bunch of green onions, some garlic and ginger, cornstarch, soy sauce, and some rice wine. You can also use mirin, but this is one that I got from the Japanese store. I think this is a little bit looser. Mirin kind of tends to be a little bit thicker, I think, and a little bit sweeter. This is more like rice wine, not rice wine vinegar, and a little bit of salt. So first thing I'm gonna do is put some salt onto the cabbage, and this is going to help drain the cabbage of excess liquid. So I'm just going to kind of massage it with my fingers. Let me do this so you can see. So I sprinkled some salt, and I just want to kind of let it sit for 5 minutes after I massage it in there very gently so I'm not making a mess. And you will see, and you'll be able to feel also, already I can feel that the liquid is coming out of the cabbage. So I just want to let that sit aside. For the meat, I like to use lean ground beef. You can use pork, you can use shrimp, you can use chicken. I have done chicken before, but I always tend to prefer the beef. I don't know why, maybe it's because this is what I grew up on. However, I like to use lean ground beef because I feel like when there's too much fat in it, it doesn't hold together as well. That's just my preference. Do however you like to do it. And if you want a vegan version, we're gonna be doing Lent very soon, which is when we have no meat and no dairy. If you want a vegan version of wonton soup, let me know in the comments below or on my Instagram. I would be happy to do that for you. But yeah, so lean ground beef here, and then this is sitting with the salt. So what I like to do is, so this is enough green onions for the soup portion, which we'll go over in a second, and the meat. So I'm gonna stick a whole bunch of green onions in here, and then the rest will go into the soup. I'm gonna take a grater, and I like to grate in the garlic and the ginger because I don't want the garlic and the ginger to be in chunks. I want it to be a paste so that it can fully combine with the meat and you get that flavor throughout. It's not like a little bit here, a little bit there. I want it all throughout. So I'm just gonna grate the garlic and some of the ginger. Some of the ginger is gonna be for the soup, so some of it's gonna go in here. So I'm gonna grate the garlic and the ginger in here, and all the ingredients are in the description box below, as well as my blog, so you can find them there. All right, I grated the garlic and the ginger into the meat, and now we're just gonna add all of our flavorings. So we're gonna add, so really this is the measurements for the sauce, or for pretty much everything, is for 1 pound of meat. This is about 1.5 pounds, so I'm almost gonna double up on what I would normally put in here. And same thing with the rice wine. Just wanna, I can't believe I'm still using a tablespoon. And then a little bit of cornstarch. So the cornstarch is just kind of like a binder, and it's going to make everything so that it doesn't get too loose in the wrapper and that it stays intact once it's cooked in the soup. So I am just gonna move everything here. I wanna mix all of this up before we add in the cabbage. Just lightly mix everything up. And the cabbage really kind of gives us a lot of good substance. I have to have the cabbage in here. You can grate carrots in here. You can add ground mushrooms or like finely chopped mushrooms. But this is just how we have always done it. If you can come here and see that this cabbage almost looks wet, as if I just washed it, and that's what the salt does. It helps release liquid. Just like when you're cooking, it helps release the liquid from whatever vegetable you put in. So same thing happens when you have a raw vegetable. So I'm gonna add all this cabbage in here, squeezing it out as I go so that all the liquid stays here. I may not use all of that. Let's just see what it looks like. Now, what the heck, I'm gonna add all the cabbage in. We all know, if you've been watching my videos, we all know that I like veggie heavy foods. So a little extra cabbage ain't gonna hurt nobody. Today, we filmed an episode with my daughter. We made some fudgy brownies. When this video is up, the fudgy brownie video will not be up quite yet. It's gonna be up next week, most likely. But yeah, that was really fun. So if you're watching this in the future, go ahead and watch that fudgy brownie video with my daughter because it's really, really funny. Okay, the mixture is all ready to go. I have my wonton wrappers right here. I'm just gonna wash my hands and I'll show you how to wrap these up. Okay, I have my wonton wrappers right here. I use the square ones. These say vegan. You can get the vegan ones. You don't have to get the vegan ones, whatever. This is just what Instacart brought me, my Instacart shopper. I didn't intend to get vegan, but they taste exactly the same. I taste no difference. So they are the square ones, and you take one, and usually one will have more of a floured side than the other, but this one I've already opened, and it's been sitting in the fridge for about a week, so I think maybe the flour kind of vanished. So you just take it, you take a little bit of filling. You don't want to take too much because it can bust open the wonton wrapper, and you want it to stay, you know, in form, in the shape that we're gonna make it. So here is what I do. That looks good to me. So, ooh, you know what I need? I need a little bit of water. Give me a second. All right, just a little bit of water here. So I take the filling, just like this, about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, and you just take the water on one finger and you wanna put it on there, and this is going to help the two sides adhere to each other. So then you take it and you fold it in half like so, and you want to make it so that all the air bubbles are out of there. And you can kind of see where the air bubbles are. When you're closing it, just feel for it. Kind of like you're putting a cell phone case on, you know, you wanna just kind of like push those air bubbles out, if that makes sense. I don't know if that was a good analogy. But then, once you have this, kind of like my shish buttock video, if you've seen that, this is the wonton version. You wanna push the middle inside and bring the two together. And again, you're gonna need a little bit of water, just like this. And then you have a little wonton, like that. So, super easy. If you want, come back and watch me make one more. So you got your wonton. You're gonna put a little bit of filling in it. Cameraman thought he could walk away a little too fast, huh? Got your filling. You got your water along the sides. This might actually be a little too much filling, but we'll see what happens. You know what? I'm gonna take it out. Close it from here, and if a little bit gets on the outside, it's no big deal. And you can also put sesame oil in the filling. It tastes absolutely delicious when you do that, but my daughter is allergic to sesame, so I will not be doing that, as traditional as it may be, whether or not. And there you go. So here's what you can do from here, and what helps me out quite a bit. I take all the wonton wrappers and I line a huge baking sheet like this with as many wonton wrappers as I can, right? I fill it all up. Then I take the meat and I fill all the wontons up at the same time. Then I'll fold them all in half at the same time and then shape them at the same time. And I feel like the momentum kind of goes faster because you're doing the same movement over and over and over again, instead of putting the spoon down, doing that, doing this, putting, you know, when you do it all at one time, the same motion, I just think it goes by faster. Then, Once you have all your wontons made, or maybe I'll do that in just a second, but I want to tell you how to freeze it. So I'm just going to do all the wontons. I'll explain how to freeze it, and then we can also make the soup. All the wontons are done. Come take a look at how beautiful they look. Now they're not perfect, okay? I did the best that I could because I was trying to knock these out kind of quickly. If some of them tear, that does not always necessarily mean that they're gonna bust open when you're making the soup. The meat will probably stay intact. It just doesn't look as pretty right now, but that's okay. I have some chicken broth boiling back there. I use better than bouillon because I like that I don't have to have boxes of chicken broth in my pantry at all times. And this is just, it's really convenient. And I can control the amount of sodium in here as well. So I'm gonna freeze probably more than half of these. So what you can do is take a metal tray and flash freeze them. So you would just make them into one single layer and stick them in your freezer. I don't always have room like that to freeze things. So what I do is I make it into a single layer in a plastic bag and fill it up as much as I can without making it to the point where they're smushed together, because then it's really hard to take them apart when you want to cook them. So you just stick them in there in a single layer, and you do not want to stack them on top of each other. You do not want to do a second layer. I have made that mistake, and you end up with a big clumpy mess when you're making the soup, and you don't want that. The nice thing about doing the wonton wrappers is as you're making them, the first ones that you make kind of start to dry. So they already really won't stick together, and the outside has flour on it. So that helps them not stick together in the freezer. So I'm just gonna stick some of these in the bag, and then very carefully in a spot where you know it won't get kind of toppled over, you're just gonna lay it there and it will freeze, and they're ready for you whenever you want to just heat up some chicken broth and just plop them right in. It's as simple as that. So I'm gonna do this, and then I'll show you how to make the super easy soup. So I have a couple bags here. This will be good for meals later on, and it's a really good quick dinner that I know that Nadia will really like because she loves her soups if I don't have anything ready for dinner. But yeah, I love having freezer food like this, so convenient. I'm gonna just make this little bit today just because I found that these were the most sticky. So I wanna cook them instead of freezing them. In here, I have some baby bok choy that I've cut up into little dices. I have some ginger that I've sliced very, very thinly, if I can find it, like very thinly, paper thin. And then at the bottom, I have all the rest of those green onions that I didn't add into the meat initially. So this is gonna go into the boiling broth, and then I will plop in these. These take about 10 minutes, and same thing when they're frozen. When you're cooking them from frozen, you literally just take them out of the fridge, plop them into boiling water. Once they rise to the top, they are basically done. It takes about 10 minutes for both, you know, from what I found. So I'm gonna go ahead and plop these wontons in there. Once they're about halfway done, then I will stick all of the aromatics in there. You can also add a little bit of soy sauce or sesame oil or both to the broth if you want. But I'm just I may do a little bit of soy sauce, but we'll see. But let's head to the stove. So the chicken broth is boiling. I'm just gonna plop all of these right on in. Let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then I will do all of the greens and the ginger. Quick tip for when you're putting them in the broth, I do them one at a time, and then you're gonna want to stir the broth to make sure that they're not all sinking to the bottom, but very gently lift them off of the bottom of the pot. You don't wanna stir too aggressively, just to avoid breaking them. So it's been about 5 minutes. I'm just going to add all of this lovely stuff right on in here. You don't have to do this, but I just think it adds, kind of makes it a meal, you know? I like the fact that I'm getting some greens in, and maybe I put a lot in right now, but I wanted to finish up this bok choy that's been sitting in my fridge, waiting to film this video. I am going to leave a bit of the green onions for just some garnish, and about 5 more minutes and this is done. Soup is done, and I know it looks quite green. I did put a lot in there, but I really just wanted to finish up that bok choy, okay? I was trying to get it out of my fridge. So, you know how that goes. Anyways, I don't mind a little extra green in my soup, in my food in general. So I'm going to just put myself a few wontons. And I put some extra broth on the side because it would have overflowed. So that is here. I mean, does that not look beautiful already? To me, that is definitely restaurant worthy. Just gonna garnish it with some green. You know, clearly that did nothing because it's green already. You know, I do what I can. I do what I can to make things look a little nice, but this time it just didn't, it just didn't. I'm gonna take a bite. You can see that the meat, even though some of the pieces were kind of ripped a little bit, the meat stayed perfectly intact. None of them busted open, none of them, none of it made a mess. Let's just put it that way. So good. You can smell the ginger, and I did end up adding a little bit of soy sauce to the broth, but that's up to you if you want to do it or not. It's very hot. The ginger is there, it really comes through, which I love. You get a little tiny crunch from that cabbage, but that's what adding a little bit of salt to it does. It kind of makes it wilt a little bit, but you still get a good texture with the mixture from the ground beef. And to me, this is perfect. Whatever you have in your fridge, if you want zucchini, you can totally do that. I've done that before. Mushrooms, whatever you want, it goes well in here. I love this. We make this so often. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen how many times we make this in a week. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you give this a try. If you want a vegan version, like I said, just let me know in the comments or message me on Instagram because I would love to do a vegan version. And with that, I will see you next time on The Bite.